Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Nick with DraftBit. You are watching the Introduction to DraftBit tutorial series. This is tutorial number 4. If you missed parts 1 through 3 of this tutorial series, I definitely recommend that you go back and start from the beginning. Part 1 covers design and layout in DraftBit. Part 2 covers navigation in DraftBit, and Part 3 covers connecting data to DraftBit. In particular, this Part 4 is going to build off of Part 3 quite a bit. In part 4, we're going to cover interactions. We're going to build a couple of interactions that allow users of this basic Instagram clone app to upload a photo from their device's media library, write a caption to go along with that photo, and then submit the photo and the caption together to the backend. We will then also see what that new post looks like in the feed that we created in part 3 that shows all of the posts in this Instagram clone. So the first thing we need to do is create another endpoint in our PicBit backend. So I'm creating a basic post request here and posting it to the /photo backend. And my post body is going to have two properties in it. The first is caption, which I will set to the variable caption value, and content with the variable content value. For a caption value, we'll just put a testing. And for content value, I'm just going to use some lorem ipsum base64 encoded image data. Our endpoint is going to be submitting the image data in base64 format. I will test this and I get a valid response. So I was able to successfully post that sample data to the backend. So now I'm ready to move on to the next step. The default way that you create interactions in DraftBit is by attaching them to any component which is touchable in DraftBit. A touchable can be things like a button, but we also have a primitive touchable component. So let me show you what that looks like. Right now in our app, we have this image component, but I want to make it so that when the user taps on this image components area, that it brings up the device's media gallery. So what I need to do is I actually need to wrap a touchable around this image. Let me show you how to do that. I'm going to simply add a touchable as a peer to this image, and then I'm going to drag the image inside of the touchable. So the net result is that my image is now touchable and I can attach actions to it. The next thing to know here is that right now, this image is configured to display this remote image resource, which is just a placeholder purple box. I want this image to be data enabled so that I can dynamically display an image in this box once the user has uploaded a photo. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to save this placeholder image URL as a global variable in my app. And then I'm going to change the data source type for this image from remote URL to data, image URL, and map that to the global variable. Next, what I need to do is I need to chain a few actions to this touchable image that allows the user to bring up the phone's media gallery, select an image, and then we will save that to state in DraftBit. So let's navigate to the interactions menu in the DraftBit properties panel. Let's add our first interaction, which is an open image picker interaction. We want to allow users to upload images. Let's allow them to crop it, and let's give the uploaded image a result name of picker value. Save that. Okay, now let's chain that action to a set global variable action. We're going to set the image URL on the device to the picker value from the previous action. And now let's just test that out. I'm going to load up my iOS device preview here. So when I tap on the image, it's going to bring up the device's native media gallery. I'll select one of the test images in this device preview. This is what happens because I set editing to true. Let's select this image, and it will save that image as the new placeholder image, which we will now use in our post request. The next thing I'm going to do is I just want to assign a name to the value in the caption field. By default, it just says text input value. Let's change that to caption value. And finally, let's create an action on the post-it button to submit the image data and the caption box data to the server with the post request that we created in an earlier step. So new action on press, API request. Let's select that post new photo endpoint that we created in an earlier step. We will assign the content value to this image URL and the caption value to the caption value from the text input field. Now I'm just going to chain 2 additional actions to this stack here. What happens is once the photo and the caption has been submitted to the back end, I want to reset this image back to the placeholder image. And then I also want to navigate away from this screen to the feed screen so that when I come back to it, I'm basically back to a fresh screen all over again. So I'm going to create a new action to set global variable. I'm going to set the image URL back to this placeholder image string. And then after that, I'm going to set a navigate action to go to the feed screen. Now let's flip back over to the iOS preview again, and let's test out to see if this works. Okay, so by default, I've got my placeholder image. Let's upload a new image from the phone's media gallery. Let's pick a different one this time. Type a caption and post it. And there we go. We've navigated to the feed screen, and here's the post that I just created. So to recap what we just did in Introduction to DraftBit Tutorial Part 4 Interactions, we set some interactions to upload a photo to the device from the phone's media gallery, add a caption to that photo, and then submit all that information to the back end as a new post for this social media app Instagram clone called PicPit, and then navigated to the feed screen to see that new post. That was a 101 on interactions in DraftBit. In part 5 of this Introduction to DraftBit tutorial series, I'm going to cover previewing and sharing your app. I'll see you over there.